Narcissists at work. Gang stalking at work. I'm on the treadmill. I hope you don't mind. You know, or it's even analogous to this apartment complex I live at. It's got like 15 two-story buildings with little courtyards. So it's perfect for walking your dog, and you get to know a lot of people. But this is a very, very blue town, and very progressive. And so you don't have very many people that believe in Christ. So it can even happen in an apartment complex. It could really happen in any group situation. But for this video, we're going to focus on work. Like it could be Rotary. It could be Elks, Club. Just about anything where there's groups of people. Because all these group dynamics start to take place. People are judging each other and trying to read each other and get a kind of a handle on what kind of personality. Are you really outgoing? Are you confident? Are you an athlete? Are you a super intelligent guy? And, there's like with animals, social mammals, herding animals, there's always going to be a pecking order. And we are basically social mammals as well that always lived in groups. And so we also have this kind of like pecking order. So there's that, like let's say you arrive at a new job. You're going to have all the employees that have been on that job site for a while kind of doing that with you, sizing you up, trying to get a feel of what you're all about. With toxic people, they're going to be trying to see how they can get an in. They're going to be having their radar up to hear any vulnerabilities or soft spots or trauma and you got to be careful because these people, they're going to look so interested when you talk or answer some of their questions about your history, right? Because everyone loves attention. And they're very attentive, but for the wrong reasons. So they're going to be showering you with questions, good eye contact, nodding the head. Oh, I understand. Yeah, I went through something similar. I know how you must have felt. And so they're going to be bonding with you, and giving you lots of attention, which makes you feel appreciated, but it's all for the wrong reasons. They're gathering information. But what titles do narcissists love the most? They love supervisor, senior, boss, if it's religious, like elder. They love these titles. So in the workplace, so many of your bosses are going to be narcissists. And they're going to love the title, the power, and like if power is an umbrella term, the things that fall under that power. Being able to really abuse people in the guise of discipline. So, bosses like this are going to love to call you in their office. As you come in, shut the door behind you. Have a seat. And then just lay into you. And it's behind closed doors, And I was going through this in psych services for 28 years. If you count my internship, almost 30. Yeah, 30 years if you count my internship. But I had a boss that would always do that. And so we had smartphones for maybe 2/3 of, I mean, I knew it was coming. If I was smart, I would have tape recorded. Just had my phone, like maybe in my shirt pocket here, with the recording as I entered. Because he would have totally buckled, because he was so big, fat, totally obese African American, John Perot. The guy was the most heinous, most toxic, pretty much one of the most toxic, definitely in the top 5 of the most toxic people I've ever met in my life. And everyone knew it. And you were either on his shit list or you were on his good list. His shit list took up about maybe 33% of the workforce. But if you could fly low, all psychs knew this saying, fly low and avoid the radar. If you could fly low and get about 2 or 3 years with not one single complaint from a parent, an administrator, anyone. I mean, I worked with almost all Hispanic and Black, inner city, poverty, and especially the African American parents knew that if they could get their kid, not just in the resource program where they just get a little bit of special education assistance in just 1 or 2 subject areas, but if they could get them into the next level where it's called SDC, a special day class, they could get $500 a month for every child. And most of these women are on welfare. They get money for no husband in the house, and they know they just need to keep having children in order to keep getting a pay raise. And then another form of pay raise they hear about through the word of mouth is getting them into these SDC classes. So if they have 3 kids, just getting them into SDC classes, all 3 of them, that'd be at $1,500 additional funds per month on top of your food stamps, your welfare, your money for no man in the house. So these African American parents, maybe the child was already receiving just a few hours of special ed, but the parent talked to some neighbors and found out at this child's annual meeting next month, just demand that you get more intensive special education services. That means they would have to put the child in the special day class. And they think it's just me being a white man and me trying to not let them have this extra money, when there's actual qualifications. They have to qualify in all areas of academics. So there has to be a severe discrepancy between their intelligence and all 3 academic areas of reading, writing, and math to qualify for the special day class. And they have to have bad grades and, ADHD or bad behavior kind of seems to help, like lubricate the wheels that get them there. So the environment's something that a concerned, caring parent should never want, because it's basically housing for low-functioning students and housing for behavior problems. And so the teachers and the teacher aides have got their hands full, mainly dealing with like behavior problems and all different academic levels of reading. So they have to break them up into small little groups of like 2 and 3 because their reading levels are all over the place. So, but I would say no, and the team usually wouldn't fully understand or care. They're just like, just give the parent whatever the hell they want. Get them off our back, And it's like, well, I worked really hard, studied really hard for 3 years in graduate school, and I'm gonna obey the law. This is federal funding is based on these laws. And as a school psychologist, I'm not supposed to be in these IEPs just saying, yeah, we can just ignore the laws. No, I'm gonna say the child doesn't qualify in math, so that they're not eligible for the special day classroom. I almost feel like whispering to the parent, don't worry, next year, don't let them ever pay attention in math in class. Don't ever let them do math homework. And next year, during the annual, they'll qualify. And you'll get your $500, But basically, if one of these African American mothers that didn't get their kid in that special day class and didn't get that 500, they could call my boss and say that I was rude or it was inappropriate or they suspected racism. And that's all it would take. Even though that boss would know why this parent's complaining. Ozzy, hey! And that there's probably no truth to it. Ozzy, hey! Shh! No! No! Okay, I'm sorry. Ozzy! So, anyways. But the head narcissist is usually the boss. Just like with this John Perot. And he has all of his flying monkeys, a whole network of people that know I'm on John Perot's team. I'm one of the people that runs to him with secrets on other employees. I'm the one that, is one of his confidants. And, they know that there's this loyalty there. And that's what keeps them off the blacklist and keeps them from the abuse that they've been exposed to. Abusive people love to abuse others or love to abuse their target in front of others so that the others get intimidated. That feeling of putting fear into the populace gives them a high and reinforces that feeling of this power. And so they throw their weight around. And this guy was like 360 pounds. So him throwing his weight around, man. But I mean, totally inappropriate. Like, he would literally corner me in his office and start banging me with his big old fat belly. Literally slamming his belly into me in his office. I could literally talk for days about all the different abusive experiences I went through there. And the parents, the parents that weren't just looking for a free paycheck. The parents loved me, the students loved me, the teachers loved me. Only the administrators didn't like me, and psych services didn't like me. The administrators didn't like me because I wasn't theirs. I was a school psychologist. I was just using office space there. But they would want to act like, they would want me to just rubber stamp every kid and get these assessments done like that. Because every kid that qualifies for special ed gets federal funding. And I didn't go to the school just to rubber stamp every kid as having a learning disability and put eligible. Especially in these ghettos where they're supposed to be excluded if they're really poor. Because when you're poor, the research shows the parents don't buy you the appropriate materials to do your homework at home. The adults aren't really thinking about education because they never used education to get a step up and to get a career. These are very, very poor people. So they've never seen the relevance of an education. And so, you've just got a lot of reasons why these kids should not be putting a label on them, which is debilitating. They start thinking I'm learning disabled. That's what they called me. So that means I'm stupid. That means I'm not able to learn things, So it's debilitating. It has a negative effect on their self-esteem. And then they're put in a classroom where academics actually move much slower. And so they might actually have a real disability. Or they might have just a terrible home life that, school is the last thing to be concerned about. Homework is never done. So they've got all these different things going on. And then you're deciding, let's just make them eligible no matter what and put them in this classroom where there's all these behavior problems, all these different reading and math levels, and teachers are overwhelmed. Let's put them in there where the academics actually get learned at a slower pace when we already know this kid is suffering, comes from a bad home life, real poverty, And so, there were so many reasons that I was exposed to in graduate school that I could never forget. And it's like, am I here to help? Or am I just here to hurt? And just be one of these, all the adults that just sign off. They don't care. They want the federal funding. They don't care about the individual. So psych services hated me because I cared about the individual. The bosses hated me the administrators at the school site hated me because I wasn't just rubber stamping all these kids to get as much federal funding as possible. They'd frequently come to me and tell me, the last school psychologist completed like 180 assessments in a year, and that was able to get us to buy a full-time resource specialist teacher just because of that guy's hard work. And it's like, yeah, but you know what? I got training in group therapy, individual therapy. I got training working with parents, not just rubber stamping assessments all day long. And that's not my only job description. The counseling of the kids in individual and group therapy, the working with the parents, that's all in my job description. That's all of my training. And administrators hate me. So do whatever you got to do, but I'm going to spend half my time doing these assessments. I'm sorry if you can't get a new teacher out of the funds that it generates. And I'm going to spend half my time doing the counseling, working with the teachers, working with the parents, and using the skills I had to try to be an aid and assistance to these terrible, poverty-ridden inner-city schools that's just a microcosm of society, so all the ills and all of the problems of society are found in these schools. Like, we're talking the poorest neighborhoods. So it's got the ills of those poorest neighborhoods in the school as well, of course. So, oh man, the green light. John Perot would give me about 2 to 3 months at a new site before he would basically let the administrators know that you've got the green light on Mr. Brown. Yeah, he's a terrible school psychologist. He's not a team player. He doesn't work well with others. He's not willing to focus on what we want him to focus on. Anytime you call me with a complaint on him, I will be so happy and appreciative of you. And if you give me enough complaints on him, I might be able to finagle a school psychologist to come out an extra day once a week. So that would help get these assessments done, and then we could build a case against this Mr. Brown so that we could maybe get him fired someday, or at least get him to quit. So we'd be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. This guy is not a team player. He's not a good school psychologist. When it was all just because of this power trip, and thinking that they could demand and just shove me into whatever shape they wanted to shove me into. And I do consider myself a chosen one, and most of you do too. And as chosen ones, we're free. We know that basically it's God and us, and everyone else is just obstacles. So, I knew why they hated me. I knew that I was trying to be a good person instead of just going with the flow. Just go with the flow, man. Man, all these adults, it's so sad. It's like no one has a backbone. All these adults could care less about all these poor little kids. And you know why? Because the vast majority of them, in the back of their mind, they're thinking, none of these kids are going to be anything. Most of them are going to be criminals. And out of all the criminals, most of the criminals are going to end up spending most of their life in jail. The ones that do not get into criminality and end up in jail will be maids, gardeners. They'll work the system like their parents. They'll get the unemployment, the Social Security. They'll work the system. And they've just thrown in the towel. They accept that society's crumbling, everything's jacked up, everyone works the system. And just who cares? Just keep signing on the dotted line. Taking no real accountability. not really standing up strong for anything. One of my favorite sayings is, you know, if you're not willing to stand up for something, you'll fall down for anything. So, but this gang stalking is a real issue, and it's most apparent in the workplace when you're a chosen one and you have a narcissistic boss. If you have discernment, eyes to see, ears to hear, and you're able to pick up the simple fact that your boss clearly, from what you can tell, would qualify as NPD. And these people are clearly flying monkeys. And I definitely have a front coming at me, you know? And there's definitely a team effort. I couldn't get out because my retirement, my pension is tied to that specific school district. So I couldn't get out. If I got out, I wouldn't be able to be retired right now because it would have ruined my pension. So if you're in a situation like that, I understand, but if you're not, get the hell out immediately. So I hope this message resonated with someone that needed to hear it, someone that's going through some real weird group dynamics at work, and they always seem to be the one that comes up short, gets the short end of the stick always. I feel for you. I've been there. I spent 30 years in that environment. It is soul crushing. So if you can, get out. If you can't, rely on the Lord. Scripture, prayer, fasting. God bless. Hit like, dislike, leave a comment. Oh, my last 2 videos, I've got 0 comments. And I've got like over 40 views. So I could really, even if it's just a little emoji, give me a little comment, please. God bless you.